Okay, now here we just start the Python programming. Now remember, this is one of the very important section in the A-level syllabus, because you may get 5 to 6 or more than that MCQ questions, and sometimes one structure essay part, and again one whole essay question will come from the Python. Therefore, learning this one is very important for you to get the good results or to get the good grade. So now here we just start from the beginning. So if you carefully listen and learn that easily, you can score the good marks and get the good grade. Now remember, those who are going to do the A-level this time is enough if you work hard to get the good results. So initially we need to learn about this program languages. Now in here, whenever you are going to learn the program language, why are we learning the language? Normally we need to have the language to make the communication. So we can have the communication by having the language. So therefore in computer also we want to communicate. Now to make the communication in the computer, we need to learn the language. So we're not going to learn the program language. Mainly we have to learn about two things. That is not only for the program language. Remember, every when you take the whatever the language we are speaking, we need to learn about two things. That is, one is a syntax. The other one is the reserve words or keywords in the language. That is, you're going to learn the program language. First, you have to learn about the keyword or the reserve word in the language, and then you have to learn the syntax. Syntax means basically rules in the language. So those two you need to learn in the program language. So just like when you're going to learn the English language, you have learned initially whatever the alphabet, and then the spellings, and then the grammar. Here the grammar is a syntax. Similarly, when you're going to learn the program language, we need to think about these two. That is the keywords in the language and the syntax in the language. So in here, when you take the keyword in the Python, remember, so entire Python language has very less number of keywords. So these are the main keywords we have in the Python language. So all these complex programs you are writing in the Python by using these keywords. So these are the keywords in the Python. Now here there is a special thing you need to identify. Now remember, this Python is case sensitive language. That means simple and capital letters are identified differently. So all the keywords in the Python, remember, all are simple letters, except there are three keywords. These three. You need to remember this one, because some MCQ question you will be confused if you didn't identify that one clearly. That is, in the Python, these three keywords, that is true, false, none. Now remember, these three keywords, the first letter is capital letters. So when you're writing the true, the first letter should be capital. False, first letter should be capital. You need to understand this, because some exams, you can see there are some questions they have given. If you don't identify that, you may find some difficulties when you're going to write the answers. Therefore, clearly identify this. These three keywords are very special, where the first character start by capital, but all the others are simple letters. All the other keywords are simple letters, because you need to understand that when you are going to assign the values. Now, some exam paper, they have given something like this. They have given the variable a, and then they have given as true like this. Then that is correct. But if it is given as so if it is given as, let's say, a is equal to true like this, then you should understand it is not correct. That is not correct. So similarly, but when you write this as a false, it is correct. So, but if you write with the all capital letters, all simple letters, it is incorrect. Therefore, you need to have some idea about these keywords also. So these are the main keywords in the Python. Just remember this true, false, none. These three are always when you start with the capital letters. Then we have to learn the syntax. Syntax means some rules. We need to learn some rules, like we will learn these rules later. Now, as an example, when you write the if condition, we need to have the colon here. If you don't put the colon, that's an error. And if you don't maintain the indentations like this, you will get an error. And if you don't put the colon here, it's an error. Therefore, these are some rules. So we need to learn the rules which we call as syntax. If you don't follow that rules, you will get the syntax errors in this Python language. So when you take these program languages, I just give you some background details, because some instance with the Python question, you will ask some question related to this also. That is why I just introduce this here. That is, when you take the program languages, normally we divide all the program languages into two categories. One is low level, other one is a high level. Now, what are the low level languages? There are two low level languages, that is machine language and assembly language. And why are we calling these two are low level? Because they are very close to the lowest levels of the computer. That means these two languages are very close to the lowest level. Lowest level means here the hardware. They are very related to the hardware, which are very close to the hardware. But the high level languages, why we call these a high level? These are very closer to the user, but not very close to the hardware. So therefore, these two languages, machine language and assembly language, we call as a low level. And this like C, C++, Python like languages, we call as a high level languages. So then you need to understand what is the difference between the low level and the high level. Low level means they are very closer to the computer. High level means they are very closer to the user. Now, whenever you take the low level languages, remember, I will send that. Now, whenever you take the low level languages, now this machine language and assembly language are the two level languages. Now, under that, machine language is the language where the machine can understand, where everything should be in 1-0 format, which can be understood by the computer directly, where the translation is not needed. But understand the machine language is very difficult for the user. Then they have developed the assembly language, which is a little bit easier than the machine language, but still it is low level language. So then remember, the machine language is the language where the machine can directly understand without having translator, and therefore it can be executed very fast, where the machine can directly understand without doing any translation for the machine language. So the machine language, remember, execution is very fast. There is no compiler or interpreter for the translation. And remember, they are directly working with the whatever the hardware. You can easily communicate with the hardware because it is very close to the hardware. And disadvantage is, remember, when you write a program in the machine code, it is machine dependent. That is, once you write a program for one machine or one architecture, you cannot run in another architecture. And it is very difficult to understand, difficult to maintain, and difficult to find the errors. And it generates more errors because user cannot understand the machine language. These are just a comparison with the machine language. Therefore, later they introduced the high-level languages. In high-level languages, difference is they have given some keywords which we call as mnemonics. That is, each operation defined in the machine language, codes are given. Now, for the loading, we can write the word load, and adding you can write the add. Now, this one is bit readable. This is bit readable than the machine code, but it is still low level. And these words like load and store, we call them as mnemonics, which is bit easier than the machine code. But and again, this assembly language, remember, computer cannot understand it. We need to translate into the machine code. For that, we need to use the assembler. Assembler is needed. By using the assembler, we can translate the assembly code into the machine code. So here the advantage is this is also very fast and which is bit readable with compared to the machine code. and program size also very small. The disadvantage here in the assembly code is that is also machine dependent. When you write assembly code for one machine, which you cannot run in another machine, still it is low level, therefore programming is very difficult, which generates more errors in the assembly language. So therefore people develop the high level languages. These are the languages which are very close to the user, but the computer cannot understand. Therefore, in high-level languages, always we need to have the translators to translate the program codes from high level to machine code so that machine can understand. Therefore, this is very easier to write the program and easy to find the errors. And you can develop very complex program using the high-level languages like C, C++, Java, Pascal, Fortran like languages can be used to develop the software very easily, and easily you can identify the errors also, which is very closer to the user but not closer to the machine. Therefore, we need to make the translations. So then these are some of the advantages: easy to write the program and easy to debug or finding the errors, and it hide all the lowest level and machine independent. Right? That means not like the machine language and the assembly language. When you write a program, these programs are machine independent. Sorry, assembly and the machine codes are machine dependent. But when you write a program in the high level language, which can be executed on any machine, therefore their programs are machine independent and easy to learn and easy to find the errors. Like lot of advantages are there in the high level languages. But there are some disadvantages because always this program must be translated into the machine code. Then it takes time to translate, and comparative program sizes are very large with compared to the low level programming language. And again, they need more memory. And again, communicate with the hardware with directly is a bit difficult, because these program languages are very close to the user, not to the hardware. So this is just a comparison between the high level and the low level. So you can see low level languages are fast language and very efficient, but difficult to learn, and hardware knowledge is needed. And the programs are machine dependent. When you write a program for one machine, which cannot be run on the other machines, and they can communicate with the hardware directly, and more errors will be generated. Debugging is difficult, or finding the errors are very difficult. So you must have some knowledge of the comparison between the low level and the high level. So no need to take down anything. I will send you the slides. You can go through that again. Then when you are working the high level languages, always we need to have the translators. We have assembler, compiler, interpreter. These are the translators which translate high level languages into machine codes. So the compiler is the language where we convert the program from high level to low level. And here, remember, entire program will be translated to the machine code, not line by line. Then later we can run the program. So if you compile the program today, you can run it tomorrow. There is no problem. So normally compile programs are very fast because you can compile the entire program to the machine code and later you can execute it. But when you take the interpreter, remember interpreter takes only line by line. So it takes the first line, then translate into the machine code and execute. And take the second line, translate to the machine code and execute. Therefore, interpreter is taking each line one by one and translate to the machine code if there are no any syntax errors, and then execute. Then take the second line, translate to the machine code if there are no syntax errors, and execute. Like every time when you're going to run translate, we need to execute it. But the compiler translate the whole program to the machine code, but later you can execute. Therefore, since you are running this program line by line, this will be a bit slower. Interpreter is slower. Now remember, this Python has an interpreter, not the compiler. Now these are some of the languages where you can find compiler, like the C, C++, Java, Fortran, Pascal like languages, they have a compiler. But Python, PHP, Ruby, JavaScript like languages, they are working with the interpreter. That means it takes line by line execution. But compiler will take the whole program and convert into the machine code, and then later you can execute. Some languages you have the hybrid translators. That is, we have the both compiler and interpreter. If you take the example is Java language, where it will convert initially the Java program will be converted to the bytecode using a compiler. And then in a machine or the web browser, once the Java virtual machine is installed, it will do the interpretation. Therefore, there are some languages which has both compiler and the interpreter. And because of that, this Java, this was introduced basically to run the program in different platforms without considering the different operating systems. For that one, this Java virtual machine was introduced so that your program can be executed on any machine. That is the main objective. They have used these two compilers there. So the other way to categorize the program languages, remember, we can categorize as a first generation. Now we have the low level and the high level. Now remember this low level is the two languages called as the first generation and the second generation. High level, we have the third, fourth, and fifth. So then what are the languages corresponding to each generation? In language, remember, the first generation language is the machine code or machine language. Second generation language is assembly language. Third generation is a high level languages like C, C++, Java like languages. And fourth one is this third one and the fourth one difference is that normally third generation languages are procedural languages. Fourth generation languages are declarative languages. And fifth generation languages are AI related languages. So that is how you get the 5 generations. What is the first generation? Machine code. Second generation, assembly language. Third generation is the procedural languages. Fourth one is declarative languages. Fifth one is AI based languages. Now, what is the difference between procedurals? That what's the difference between these two, remember. Now, procedural languages means, as the name implies, we write a program as a procedure. Then the computer has to follow that procedure and produce the output. That is all the instructions we will provide in the program. We just write a procedure or normally functions, and program has to follow that procedure and produce the output. But in the declarative languages, totally different. In declarative languages, actually, we are not writing the steps that must be performed by the computer. Instead, we declare what we want. We declare what we want, like this SQL, where we just say what you want, but you don't say how to do that by the program or the computer. So just declare what are the things you want, then the program language should be able to provide the output based on that. So then procedural languages idea is that we just declare the steps or procedure that must be followed by the computer to produce the output. But declarative languages, remember, we are just declare the things that you want. That is we call as a declarative languages. So in SQL, we know we can just say what are the things you want to get from the database. In that case, you are just saying what you want, but you don't say how to get it on the system. So that is the main difference between the procedural languages and the declarative languages. Normally, third generation languages are procedural languages. Fourth generation languages are declarative languages. Is it clear the difference between those two languages?
Yes, sir.
Okay, then we just come to the programming part. Here we are going to write the programs. Basically, program means a set of codes. Now, the code means actually a set of instructions. When you take a program, we are writing a program. That means we are writing some instructions. We are writing some instructions. When you write these instructions, computer follow instructions and produce the output. So when you write this instruction, to write this instruction, you have to learn the program language clearly. Otherwise, compiler generates the syntax errors if you don't know the rules to write the program. So then we'll come to the Python language. Now remember, this Python is one of the very powerful program language, where a lot of developments currently being done with this Python language. And it was developed by the person named as Gudu Von Rossum. This is the person who developed this Python language. And it is supporting for the object-oriented concepts also. Now remember, with compared to other languages, this Python is one of the very easy language with compared to the other languages. So now to do the programming, you need to first download this Python. If you go to this python.org, you can easily download this Python interpreter and install in your computer. It doesn't take that much time. Just take that one, install in your computer to write the program, because without having that, you may not be able to write the programs. Any questions you have?
No, sir.
Now you can go to this website and download this Python and install in your computer, and then you can easily write the programs once it is downloaded. So once you install, you will get this menu. From there, you can select the Python and execute. So you will get the interface like this. That is, you will get the interface like this kind of interface you get. And then you can write the simple commands here. And again, complex program also you can write with this interface. Is that clear? And to write the programs,
Yes,
we can go to the files, and later we'll see how you can write the complex program. Initially, we'll work with the interpreter with simple calculation things, and later we'll go to the program writing thing, where you can implement some programs to develop some application. So that is the initial part of the Python session. And then we just come to the second part, which is the mathematical operators. Initially discuss this one and then see some past papers related to that. And then we'll come to the other sections step by step. So this is also one of the very important section where you get a lot of MCQ questions. To write the answers, you need to understand the things clearly. Okay, now the first thing is when you're going to write the program with your computer, remember we need to store your data in the memory, computer memory. So when you are going to store the data in the memory, now we know in the memory address should be used to save the data. When you're going to save the memory, look like this. It's a kind of large array of bytes. The memory look like this. And each memory location, you can store some data. But remember, when you're going to store the data in the memory, we need to know the memory address. Memory address. So what happened? This memory address, now we know currently some computers are 32 bits. The word size is 32 bits. What's the meaning of 32 bits? The memory address has 32 bits. But some computers nowadays are 64 bits. That is when you take the memory address. Now this is in the hexadecimal they have given. Now this memory address is 64 bits. So in that case, remember when you're going to store the data, when you're going to retrieve the data, we need to know the memory address. Because everything will be done with the computer memory using this memory address. If you don't know this memory address, it is difficult to store the values in the memory and retrieve the data from the memory. That is, when you store the data in the memory and when you are retrieving the data from the memory, it always done in the memory address. Now the problem is when you take the memory address, it is sometimes 32 bits, sometimes it is 64 bits. Then working with large number of bits is very difficult because people doesn't like to remember the numbers because we forget the numbers always. That is why, these mobile phones, we may have thousands of numbers, but we can't remember any of these numbers sometimes. But we know the people names. That is why we just, whenever you want to call someone, we know that person name, but we don't know the number. So we just search the address books and find the person number and call it. That is because of, in general, people doesn't like to remember the numbers because numbers will forget. Therefore, always you are working with the names. Here also same thing. We're not going to store the data in the computer memory. We need to work with the memory address. But the problem is remembering this memory address is very difficult. Therefore, what they have done is that these program language developers, they have developed the concept as identifiers. What are the identifiers? Identifiers are basically names. Names. That means instead of using the number, we can use a name. Why are we using this name? We are using this name to identify the memory. Since we are using this name to identify the memory, we call them as identifiers. Is that clear? That's the reason we call them as identifiers. What are the identifiers? Identifiers are basically unique name. Why are we using the names? Names are easier to remember than the numbers. People will forget the numbers, but people can easily remember the names. So then remember, what are the identifiers? Identifiers are the names which are used to identify the value in the computer memory. So then if we store this 23 in a computer memory, normally we need to use this address to get that value back from the memory. If you're going to change it the memory, you need to have the address. But remember, this address is very difficult. Therefore, we use a name to identify that one. Then by using this name, easily you can access to the memory and then modify the content. So therefore, this one we call as identifier. The identifier is a name which is used to identify the memory location. So then remember what is the meaning of the term identifier. In every program language, we have this. So identifiers are the names which are used to identify the memory locations. And then these identifiers, remember, we use another name. These identifiers use another name that is a variable. So these identifiers equal as a variable. Why are we calling them as a variable? Because the value in the memory, the value stored in the memory is not fixed. The value stored in the memory, time to time you can change it. Since you can vary the value time to time, this one we call as a variable. So therefore, both the identifiers and the variables are same thing. So then you need to remember identifiers are the names which are used to identify the memory location so that you can store the data, retrieve the data using the identifiers without using the memory address. And the value of the memory can be changed time to time. Therefore, this variable or this identifier we call as a variable too. The reason is the value is varying time to time in the memory. Therefore, remember this variable, identifier, both are referring the same thing. So when you are going to give the names, you can't just give the names. There are some rules that you need to follow. If you don't follow these rules, interpreter generates errors. So that syntax errors will be generated. So in that case, what are the rules that you should remember? There are several rules, and again remember, these names are case sensitive. As I told you, this Python is a case sensitive. Case sensitive means capital and simples are two different things. Now, when you create a variable as age, it is not equal to the age. There are two different things. So that is the meaning of case sensitiveness. Therefore, Python is a case sensitive language. That means the capital symbols are two different things, not like HTML. The HTML, that is doesn't matter either capital or simple, or Pascal language, like doesn't matter capital simple, no issue. But remember, in Python, it's a case sensitive language. That is, when you write something capital, when you write something simple, they are two different things. They are not equal. So when you are going to store the value in the memory, remember the variables and identifiers both are same. These are basically names. Names. Why are we using the names? names are easy to remember than the numbers. People will forget the numbers. That is why I use the names. Then the most important thing, the rules. What are the rules we need to follow when you are going to create the variables? Okay, before that, in Python, there are different data types. We have the integer, float, complex numbers, Boolean, string, list, tuple, dictionary, like there are different data types. But remember in Python, which is very easy with compared to other languages, reason is in the Python, we don't need to declare the data types. In other languages, not like in Python, remember the other languages, before you use any variable, you need to specify what's the data type. Yeah, we need to think about what's the data type. That is, data types means actually whether it is integer, whether it is a Boolean, whether it is a string, whether it is a character, like data type must be declared. But in the Python, advantage is that you don't need to specify what's the data type. Because whenever you assign a value, automatically now, as an example, if you take a variable A, if you assign a value, then Python automatically identify that as integer. And if you take a variable, if you assign a value, let's say 3.2, then it will automatically identify that as a Boolean. And if you take the variable C and if you assign values like this, then it automatically identify this as a list, just like array. No need to declare. So therefore, remember in the Python, we don't need to declare what's the data types. Automatically data types can be recognized. Therefore, if you want to identify the data type, there is a built-in function. There's a built-in function type. By using this function, now later we'll discuss about the functions. Now remember, if it is a function, always you will get this parenthesis in a functions. Always this parenthesis if it is a function. So in Python, the most important is data types no need to declare. It automatically identifies the data types. Now as an example, if I write here a equals 10. So it identifies what is A. I don't need to declare what is the A. But if I want to find out what is the variable type A, I can use a type function. Then it says it is integer. And if I have another variable like this. So if you use the function type and then it is identified as a Boolean. So we don't need to declare what is it. Therefore, remember we can use this type function to identify the data types. So that is the one advantage of the Python. We don't need to declare the data types. It automatically identifies what is the data type. Is that clear? Any question?
Sir.
If you have any questions, you can ask. Okay, then. Now, these are the rules that I told you previously. When you are going to create the names, now we can't just give the names. Now, remember, there are a set of rules you need to follow. What are the rules you need to remember? That is the variable or identifier name. Identifier should start by letters. That is A to Z capital, A to Z simple can be used. The first letter should be always the first character, even in the variable, the first character should be a letter. A to Z capital or it is a simple. Or underscore can be taken as a first one. But remember, we don't start by the digits. The first character cannot be a digit. First character cannot be a digit. The first character can be always letter or underscore. Like you can write something like this. That is, you can write something like this. Age is okay. That is correct. And again, you can write something like this. So the variable name age is okay. Age is equal to 25. This is correct. Or you can start by underscore. You can start by underscore like this. That is also correct. You can use the underscore. That is correct. And first letter can't be a number. Remember, first character cannot be a number, like 2a equals 50. That is wrong. First letter cannot be a number. Just remember, first letter cannot be a number. And again, keywords. Now, earlier we have seen some keywords in the program language that cannot be used. And again, it is case sensitive. Always use some meaningful name and don't use the spacing. Don't use the spacing. That is, whenever you write variable like age is 25, if you write like this, this is wrong. You don't keep this spacing. You can write both together like this. This is okay. This is correct. And this is also correct. Age underscore is. This is okay. But remember, don't keep the spacing. When you're writing the variable name, don't keep the spacing like this. If you keep the space here, that is wrong. Is that clear? So then what are the rules? The first letter cannot be a number. First letter should be a to Z capital or A to Z simple or underscore is possible. And first letter cannot be a digit. And it is case sensitive. And don't keep the spacing between the two words in the variable. So those are the rules you should know when you're going to create the variables. Any questions before going to this part? Okay, now we just come to the assigning the values to the variable. Now this is very important. We can see several past paper questions which came from this section, because understanding this is very important. We're not going to assign the variables. We can use the value assigning can be done using equal sign. So you can assign the value like this. You can have the variable and you can assign the value like this. If it is a string, you need to have the quotation marks. You need to have the quotation mark like this. And you can assign the multiple variables. Same value can be assigned like this. Here, the meaning is A, B, and C. All are getting the same value. All are getting the same value. So then the multiple variables, same value can be assigned like this. This is also correct. And this is another way to, we can assign the values in the Python. When you assign like this, remember A is equal to 10, B is equal to 20, C is equal to 30. Just remember that. And this is the another very important thing. Most of the time, this past papers, this was there. You can assign the values like this also. In this case, A gets multiple values, which is later we'll call as a tuple. We'll discuss that one later. Remember, the assigning the values can be done like this. But remember, if you get variable like this, A and the B and the C equals 10, this is wrong. This is wrong. If it is, that is correct. If you have the three values like this, then it is okay. So if you can write like this, then you get A is equal to 10, B is equal to 4, C is equal to 5. That is correct. But if the one value, only one value is there, that is wrong. But for the one variable, multiple values can be assigned. Like as given here, for the single variable, you can see by separated by comma, multiple values can be assigned like this. Just remember how to assign these values to the variables. And the other thing is, as given this example, assigning the values like string, we need to have the single quotation or double quotation can be used. But don't put one is double quotation, other one is single quotation, that generates error. That generates error. So therefore, you need to have either single quotation or double quotation, both. One is double, other one is single, will generate errors. And again, the other thing is, if you want to have the quotation marks, like, yeah, I want to write the two's complement. That is, I won't write the word. I won't write the word like this, two's complement. So in this case, remember, if you write, this is a string. In this case, if you put quotation marks here and quotation marks here, that is error. That generates error. So if you want to include single quotation marks, here you need to have the double quotation marks. Here you need to have the double quotation marks as a, if you want to make it a string like this. So then just remember, if you want to include the single quotation mark within a string, here you need to have the double quotations. Because when you're creating the strings, either you can use a single quotation like this or double quotation like this is okay, but this is wrong. This is wrong. And if you won't have the quotation marks in between the whatever the characters here you have, if you won't have the quotation marks, you need to have the double quotation here and there. Don't put the single quotation. That gives error messages. Then the other thing is, when you're writing the numbers in this standard format, remember you can write like this. Now, what is the meaning of this one? 2.5 e to the power 3. E to the power 3 means 10 to the power 3. That is 2.5 multiplied by 1000. Then that is equal to 2500. Here either simple E or capital E is no matter. Now those things you should remember, because the past papers, they have given the questions and asked whether it is correct or wrong. Whether you can write like this. So then remember, writing like this, okay, either simple E, capital E is no matter. What is the meaning of this one? 2.5 multiplied by 10 to the power 3. 10 to the power 3 means 1000. Then 2.5 multiplied by 1000 is 2500. This one is minus 3. That means you have to divide by 1000. 2.5 divided by 1000. Either simple E or capital E can be used. Just remember those things. And again, you can assign the values like this also. In this case, both A and B will be equal to how much? 4 plus 2, 6. When you write like this, remember A is equal to 2, B is equal to 3. When you write like this, A is equal to 1, B is equal to 2, C is equal to 3. So this way we can assign the values. So just keep in mind, because in the exam paper, they have asked some questions how to assign the values to the variable like this. Are there any question in this page? Okay, good. Okay, then the next one is a type function. Now I have already explained this type function. The type function is used to, that is 2.5e. That is, you can see when you have the variable, then you can see A is equal to that number. So if you write A is equal to 2.5 capital E3, then also same. Then the A is equal to this 2500. That is, E means 10 to the power. That is exponential. E means exponential. That is 10 to the power 3. 2.5 multiplied by 10 to the power 3. 10 to the power 3 means 1000. Then 2.5 multiplied by 1000 is 2500. Is that clear now? 2.5 multiplied by 1000.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, type function I have already explained, which will give you the type of the data. Now here is 45. Now 45 is integer. By using the type function, you can identify as integer. Here this one is a string, so it says int string. This one is a complex number. This one is a list. Like by using the type function, you can find the data types, which is used for the variable. Okay, then we'll come to the mathematical operators. Now here, some of the operators you are already familiar with. There are few operators you need to understand here. Basically, the addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, those are you are familiar with. And these are the three operators we need to understand. One is modulus, other one is integer division, other one is exponent. So those are the three operators that we need to familiar with. That is, this one modulus operator will give the remainder. Because some algorithms in our writing we need to know the remainder. So when the number divide by, now if you write the example 10 modulus 7, what's the meaning? When the 10 divided by 7, what is the remainder? Remainder is 3. So that gives the answer as 3. So therefore, this modulus operator, what do you get when the number divided by 7, 10 divided by 7, remainder is 3. So this modulus operator will give you the remainder. And the other one is exponent. That is, if you want to find out 2 to the power 4, we know it is 16. So this is the exponent. This is equal to 2 to the power 4. That is equal to 16. So then the other one here is that this integer division. Integer division means when a number divided by, like, let's say 25. Now let's say 10. 10 divided by 4, we know answer is comes with the decimal point. That is 10 divided by 4 is 2.5. You get the answer 2.5. 10 divided by 4. But remember, if you take the integer division, 10 divided by 4. Now this one will give you the integer part only. On the number integer part. Now 10 divided by 4 is 2.5. The integer part is 2. Therefore, this will give only the 2. Not the decimal part. So that is why we call as integer division. That will give the integer division. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
So therefore, just remember this operator gives you the remainder. This will give you the power. And this is the normal division. This is the integer division. This gives only the integer part. Here, when you divide this number, the integer parts will be given. That is 2. So that is actually, it is giving the integer less than 2.5. Now 2.5 less than integer is 2. Therefore, it gives the answer as 2. So you need to know that. No, this is the exponent. That will give you the power. That's a notation for the exponent. And remember, here we need to have the operator precedence. Now, when you're learning the mathematics, you have learned the operator precedence BODMAS. Same concept is there, but it has many operators actually. In mathematics, you have only few operators, but here there are many operators. In that case, you can see highest power is a bracket, but after that it comes with the exponent. Then you can see this multiplication, division, integer division, exponent, modulus, all are in the same level. Now later we'll discuss these bitwise operators. They are bit low level actually. Bitwise operators are very low level. We'll come to them later. Just here you need to know the outputs you get with the operations. Now here I have given set of example. You can quickly see that now these are very simple calculation. This is just addition. This is just a subtraction. This is just a division. This is also division. This will give the remainder. 7 divided by 3. That is remainder is how much? 1. And here minus 3 divided by 4 is minus 7.4, minus 0.74, and 5 into 4 20. So these things I think very clear. This also just a division. This also just a division. This also division. And here is the exponent, 2 to the power 4, 16. In this case, remember when you take the minus 2 to the power 4, it calculates this one first. 2 to the power 4, 16, and minus use later. That is why it is minus 16. But when you have the bracket, then it calculates the brackets. That is, this one is even number, answer will be positive. If this one is odd number, answer will be negative. So this is the minus power, this one. Is that clear up to that point? Okay, now this one here, there's a very small thing you need to understand. But so far, there were no questions in the LL paper. But I just give you some idea what's going on there. Up to now, the LL paper, they have given the questions with this and this. But when there's a negative value, there's a small difference. Now here, 7 divided by 2. 7 divided by 2, we know 3.5. This will give the integer division. Integer division is 3. Integer division is 3. Again, here also 3. But remember, when it's come to negative number, minus 7. Minus 7 divided by 2, remember it is minus 3.5. In that case, it gives the integer less than that number. Now here, we know this 7 divided by 2 answer. Here the answer is 3. But in general 7 divided by 2. In general, 7 divided by 2 answer is 3.5. That's the answer you get. But in the integer division, you get only the 3, value 3, because you take only the integer part. That is integer part less than 3.5. Remember, less than 3.5 integer is 3. But in this case, remember, when you take the minus 7 divided by 2 means it is equal to minus 3.5. Now, when it's come to the minus 3.5, we want to find the integer less than minus 3.45. So therefore, remember, whenever you take the number, we need to find always integer. Now here we got the answer 3 because we want to get the integer less than 3.5. Less than 3.5 integer is 3. Here you get the minus 3.5. When you take the minus 3.5, remember less integer. A number integer less than 3.5 is a minus 4. That is why here the answer is minus 4. Is it clear? That is one of the point you should know. But so far in the LL paper, they have not asked this one. They have asked only the positive numbers. But if there is a negative number, you can see it gets a less integer. Less integer means for this number, less integer is 3 minus 4, because in real line, you know this real line. So what happened in the real line? Minus 3.5 is somewhere here, minus 4 is here. That means minus 3.5 value is here. And minus 4 is here. We always get the less integer. Now, when you compare the minus 3.5 and less integer with compared to minus 3.5 is minus 4. That is why here the answer comes as minus 4. Is it clear? So just keep in mind that point because it always gives the less integer because it's a negative number. Now, as an example, you can see here now 9 divided by 2. So 9 divided by 2 is 4.5. Then you can see 9 divided by integer division. That is equal to 4. That is 9 divided by 4.5. Less integer is that. But can you tell me what is the answer minus 9 divided by 2? So minus 9 divided by 2 is okay. That is minus 4.5. What is the answer? You get -9 divided by integer division. What is the answer you get? Yes, it will be how much? -5. It will be -5. So this is one of the point you should know, which was not there in the LL papers up to previous year, but you need to remember that if you get some question like that. So I have added that in the note. You can just try it later. Now, if you are given the cases like this, now here first one is 20 divided by 7. So this will give you the remainder. 20 divided by 7, that is 7 into 2 is 14, 6 is remaining. So the remainder is 6. So this one, what is the answer? That is just to get the division value, you may get some 2 point something. You get 2 point something. Can you tell me the answer here and there?
2.885.
No, that is for this. I'm asking for the answer for this one and this. They are integer division.
For the third one, answer is for?
Third one, how much? Twenty divided by 3, 7. How much you get? Integer division. You get the integer part.
Sorry, sir, it's
Yeah.
2, I think.
Yeah, it's 2. The other one? This one? Yeah, it is -3. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, just remember that. That is just a one key point you should know. So these are the answers you get. First one will give the remainder, and this one just to get the decimal point. This is integer division. Here you get the -3. Here again is a remainder. 2 to the power 3 is 8. This is 2 to the power -3. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Anyone has doubts or any questions?
No, sir.
Okay, good. Only this one, just remember. The others, I think you can understand easily. This is the one which is a little bit different. Now, in the last 3 years, what they have done is they have added this bitwise operators to the question for each questions in the MCQ. So here you need to understand the bitwise operators. Now, these are the 6 bitwise operators we have. The first one is bitwise AND operator. We know AND operator, and bitwise O operator, and bitwise exclusive O operator. And this one is, remember these arrows, you can see arrows to this direction. That means this is the arrows to left side. So that indicates move the whatever the bits to the left side. And here the arrow to the right side. You can see if you think this has an arrow, the arrows are to the right side. That indicates shift the bits to the right side. I'll explain the output. And the last one is a ones complement. Ones complement. So you need to understand these operators. Now, this is the bitwise AND operator. This is for the operator. This is for the bitwise exclusive operator. This is shift to left, shift to right, and this is the ones complement. Now, this one definitely you need to understand, because last 3 years, all the 3 questions, they have developed with this one. Now let's see how do they work. So it's a very simple thing. They are working with the bits. Now, as an example, if you are given this, that is, what is this operator? AND or not? What is it? You need to understand the operator. What is that operator? This operator is which one? AND operator or operator?
O operator.
Operator,
O.
that is operations. That is O. So therefore, we need to take the operations now. So for that one, you have to convert them to binary. Now the 6 binary value is, we know 6 binary value is 110. And 9, what is a binary value? So 9 binary value is 1001. In this case, you have to align these numbers together in the same line like this. So we can take them with like this. Now remember, now we have to have the equal number of bits, therefore we put 0 here to make it equal. And then 0 here, 1 here, 1, 1. So then remember, this is equal to decimal 6. Decimal 6. This is equal to decimal 9. Decimal 9. So decimal 6 is equal to 110. Decimal 9, sorry. Decimal 9 is equal to 1001. Now in this case, to make it equal, remember, here we need to have the 0. Add the 0 here. Remember, we need to add the 0 here. Now this is operator. Operator, we know operator means you need to know the truth table for the operator. So in that case, we can take the bitwise operations between these two values. So then we know operator means basically addition actually. But addition means don't add them together. So we know 100 means how much? I think you know the truth table for the OR gate.
1, sir.
Yeah. For the truth table for the operator, 0, 1 means 1. And 100 means 1. 100 means again 1. 100 means 1. Therefore, answer is how much? 1111. Now, binary 111 means decimal how much? Decimal equal 50. Is that clear? Yes. But if you take the AND operation, you need to know the truth table. So when you take the AND operation, you can see that is 6. 6 means 110, like earlier. 9 means 1001. We need to have the equal number of bits. Therefore, add the 0 here. And then you can take the values. Then here you get now you have to take the AND operation. This one is, remember, you have to take the AND operation. So I assume you know the truth table for the AND. AND means multiplication. When you multiply 1 into 0 is 0. 1 into 0 is 0. 1 multiplied by 0 is 0. 1 multiplied by 0 is 0. Because now you have to remember O is addition and means multiplication. Therefore, answer is 0. That is why this one is 0. Is that clear? Those two calculation?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, now the third one is what we call exclusive O. Exclusive O. For that one, you need to know the truth table for the XO. For exclusive O, what is the truth table? Because without having that, you can't do anything. But others also you should know the truth table. But I assume you know the truth table for the so the XO value is, truth table is, we know if you have the values 0 and 0, 0 and 1, 1 and 0, 1 and 1. So you should know the exclusive or output values are, here it is equal to 0. Here it is equal to 1. Here it is equal to 1. Here it is equal to 0. So that is a truth table for the exclusive OR. Because how does it happen? In exclusive OR, you should know the Boolean expression. Now remember, normally we write A exclusive B. A exclusive B, we just write plus and like this, which is equal to the Boolean expression. What is the Boolean expression for the exclusive B? A B bar plus A bar B. So that you need to remember, the exclusive O is equal to this one, exclusive, we put a circle here. That is equal to AB bar, A bar B. That's Boolean expressions. By using this, these values, by using this, you can calculate these values. No need to memorize. Now, when the both A and B are 0 and 0, you can see this one 0, this one 0, answer will be 0. When the both values are 1 and 1, when you put 1 here, B bar 0, when you put 1 here, this one 0, therefore answer is 0. But when you have the 0 and 1, A is 0. When the A is 0, A bar is 1, B is 1, 1 into 1 is 1, the answer is 1. So then you need to remember the truth table for the exclusive OR. This is truth table for the exclusive OR. That is needed to calculate the answer here. To calculate the answer here. Now here, what is the two values? We have the two values. What are the two values? One is 6. So 6 is equal to 110. Other one is 9. 9 is equal to 1001. So then you have to make it 4 bits. Therefore put a 0 here. Now we can take the exclusive operation. Take the exclusive operation between that. You need to use this table. Now 0 and 1. 0 and 1. Look at the table. 0 and 1 means 1. Here 0 and 1 means it is 1. Therefore this is 1. 1 and 0. 1 and 0 means this one. 1 and 0 means this one. That is how much? 1. 1 and 0. 1 and 0 is how much? 1 and 0 again this one. That is 1. 0 or 1. 0 1 means again 1. So therefore answer is 1 1 1 1. That is 1 1 1 is how much? 15. That's how you get this answer. Is it clear? Yes.
Yes, sir.
Anyone who didn't get? I saw someone didn't get. Which one you didn't get? Anyone has doubts up to this point? Yeah, last part. Now here, this one is exclusive OR. So you need to know the truth table for the exclusive OR. This is the truth table for the exclusive OR. How do you get that one? You need to remember exclusive OR Boolean expression is this one. So therefore, you get the truth table like this. Then you have the two numbers 6 and 9 and write with the 4 bits. To write with the 4 bits, add a 0 at the beginning. And take the exclusive operation from the table. Now here the first one is 0 and 1. You can see 0 and 1 means answer is 1. The next one is 1 and 0. 1 and 0 means again answer is 1. Next one is 1 and 0. Again answer is 1. Next one is 0, 1, answer is 1. Therefore, the value you get 1, 1, 1, 1. That is equal to decimal how much? 15. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Then this is the ones complement. Ones complement. Now remember, how do you get the ones complement value? Whenever you are given a number, when you are given the number, if you want to find the ones complement value, the first thing is you need to change the sign actually. Now here the plus 6 name. So we are going to calculate the ones complement of 6. So for that one, we need to add a 1. For this number, remember, to get the ones complement, what you have to do is, for this number, you can add 1. Now, 6 is the number they have given, add 1. That is how much? 7. And change the sign. Then you get minus 7. This one also, to get the complement, take the minus 6. For the minus 6 plus, first you have to add the 1. Add the 1. Now minus 6, when you add the 1, answer is how much? Minus 5. Then change the sign. Then you get plus 5. So then how to get the complement of the number? Whenever number is given, if you are asked to find out the complement, what you should do is, for the given number, add 1. Add 1. And change the sign. So here the given number is 6. When you add another 1, it becomes 7 and change the sign minus 7. Here the number is minus 6. For that number, add the 1. Then you can see minus 6 plus 1 is minus 5 and change the sign. Then you get how much? 5. Is it clear? Now, as an example, if you are given a questions to calculate the 10, what is the answer? Ones complement of 10. What you should do, add 1 and change the sign. Yes, add 1 means 10 plus 1 is 11 minus 7. Minus 11. If you want, you can check here. Where is that? Similarly, if you are given the questions to find out minus 10, what is the answer? You need to add 1 and change the sign. Yes. Minus 10 plus 1 is how much? Minus 9. Change the sign, plus 9. That's all. Yes, good. Anyone who didn't get that idea? But so far in the error paper, they have not asked these two. But these are, they are in the past papers. But this one did not ask yet. And this one also not yet asked in the error papers. Okay, now let's see what is this one. Now this one is the arrow. You can see this arrow to this direction. That means shifting the bits to the right side. Right side. Now what is the meaning of writing this 6 shifted to 2 bits? That means what is the meaning of this one? From the number 6. From the number 6. Shift 2 bits. 2 bits must be shifted. Then the 6 means, what is 6 in binary? Remember the binary 6 means 110. That's a 6. 6 means binary 110. Now here, what is the question? Question is to shift 2 bits to the right side. That means from this number, 110 is the number. From this 110 number, 2 bits must be shifted to right side. That means 2 bits will be erased. 2 bits will be erased. When the 2 bits are erased, what is remaining? Remaining is 1. Therefore, here the answer is 1. Similarly, what is this one? Now this one says, for the number 6, 2 bits should be shifted to left side. That is, number 6 is how much? 110. What it says shift the 2 bits to which side? Left side. When it is shifted by 2 bits, when this 110 shifted by 2 bits to the left side, what happened? Another 2 zeros will be added here because it is moving into this direction. When it is moving to this direction, 2 bits will be added here. So in that case, this number decimal is how much? 24. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Sir, can you explain it one more time?
Yeah, the idea behind the first one actually. Now here the meaning is we have to take the number 6. And it says, now this arrow, you can see this arrow are directed to this direction. These arrows are these directions. That means we need to move the bits to the right side. When you are moving to the right side, remember we need to erase. We need to erase these 2 bits. So basically 2 bits must be erased. So in that case, a number is 110. Number is 110. This is a 6. 6 is equal to 110. What it says shift the 2 bits. It says here, this one says shift the 2 bits to which direction? To the right side. Remember, when you shift to the right side, that means it says remove the last 2 bits. That means these 2 bits will be erased. When it is shifted to right side. So in that case, remaining will be how much? 1. That is why here you get the answer as 1. But the second one says it is moving to this direction. In that case, when you are moving to that direction, now the number is 6 is equal to 110. Remember, when you move this one to the left side, what happened? The additional 20 must be added to shift into the left side. In that case, this number corresponding value, when add the 2 bits to this the right hand, then this will be shifted to this direction. And now characters will be shifted to this direction. In that case, this number is equal to how much? 24. So basically, you have to remember 2 bits will be erased. Here 2 bits will be added, or 2 zeros will be added. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
sir.
Thank you.
Now, when it's come to the, now this is the example. So can you tell me the answers quickly? Because this one you need to understand definitely the last year, previous year, and the 2018, all 3 years they gave the questions with this. Therefore, you have to clearly understand this. First one, what is the answer? Yes. Now 5 means 101. 5 means 101. 8 means 1000. Then you have to make it equal. Therefore, you have to put a 0 here at the beginning. Now you have to take the bitwise operations. Now, when you take the bitwise operations here, first one is we have to take the bitwise operation. That is O operation. O operation means addition. Then 1 plus 0 is 1. 0 plus 0 is 0. 1 plus 0 is 1. 1 plus 0 is 1. What is it? 1 That is equal to 8 plus 4, 12. 12% is 13. The answer is 13. This one is 13. Is that clear? Yes. Second one, O operation. O operation means basically multiplication. 1 into 0, 0. 0 into 0, 0. 1 into 0, 0 multiplication. 0 into 0, 0. Answer is 0. Yes, good. Third one, exclusive operation. Now you need to remember the truth table. So they are 1 or 0 means 1. 0 or 0 means 0. 1 or 0 means 1. 1 or 0 means 1. That is equal to how much? Exclusive or truth table, you need to remember. That is again equal to 13. Yes. This one, what is the answer? Add 1, change the sign. Minus
minus 6
6. This one, add 1, change the
plus
sign. Plus 4. Here, 5 is shifted. 5 is 101. 101, 2 letters will be deleted. That is equal to how much? 1.
1.
Here, 101, 2 bits will be added. 0 and 0 will be added. That is the decimal value is how much? How much decimal value?
36.
20.
Yes, yes, good, 20. So, these are the answers. These are the answers. You can check this. I will send the slides. However, currently the annual paper questions come like this. That is, they don't give just these two. Some other operators will be attached. So in that case, remember this. That is, very carefully you do it. The operator precedence you need to remember. This bitwise operators, remember, bitwise operators will get the low priority. Except this one. Except the ones complement. Therefore, remember this, the bitwise operators, these bitwise operators will get the low priority. They are getting the low priority. That means you should not do that one first. So therefore, in this one, can you tell me which one you do first? Are you doing the addition first? Are you taking the operation? Which should be done first?
O.
Additions.
Are you taking the addition? Are you taking the operation? Here, that's what I explained to you. That is, remember, the shift operator, AND operator, exclusive operator, operator, all these are low level. All these are low level. Addition is higher than that. Addition is higher than that. Therefore, which should be done first? What should be done first? Addition. Addition should be done first. Therefore, 3 plus 2, 3 plus 5 is how much? 8. Then you take the 8. 3 plus 5, 8. Operation with how much? 6. Then the 8 means how much? 8. 8 means 1, 0, 0. 6 means 1, 1, 0. Then you have to make it 8 bits, 4 bits. You have to have another 0 here. Now we have to take the exclusive operation with these two. Then 0, 0, 0. 0 or 1, how much? 1. 1 or 0 is how much? 1. 0 is how much? 1. Therefore, here, when you take the 0 or 0 is 0. 1 or 0 means operation 1. And 1 or 0 is how much? 1. 1 or 0, how much? 1. So therefore, answer is 1, 1, 1, 0. So 1, 1, 1, 0 is how much? 14. Is that correct? Is that clear? Yes. The second one, tell me which one you do first. Are you taking the addition? Are you taking the bit that is exclusive O?
Addition first.
Yes, we need to do the addition first. And there is exclusive O after that. Similarly, here also we have to do the addition first. Here also do the addition first. Here also do the addition first. And here also addition first. Here also this calculation first, operation later. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Are you okay? Any questions with that? Because we need to understand this. Most of the past papers last 3 years similar to that. So you need to know this bitwise operators are getting the low priority. Other this multiplication, division, integer division, remainder, all these are getting the high priority. They are the bitwise operators are getting the low priority. Yeah. We add only 0. Now, when you shift to the, remember when you shift to the right side, you have to delete. When you add the left side, add zeros. Add zeros. Always add zeros. Select the invalid Python variable name. So we know in variable, we can start by letters or underscore is allowed, but we can't use the spacing. Here you can see there is a space in between the two words. Therefore, this is wrong. Others are okay. Underscore is allowed. That is possible, but spacing is not allowed. Therefore, answer is this one. This is no. There is a space in between the two words. That is wrong. Then the next question. Select the invalid value assignment. So here this is okay. We can assign the value like this. This is also correct. A is equal to 10. B is equal to true. C is equal to 3.5. When you write the true, remember first letter should be capital. That otherwise it is not correct. This is also correct. We can assign the value like this. This is also correct. But here only A gets a value, but B doesn't get the value. Therefore, this is wrong. Last one is wrong. Only A has the value 10, B doesn't get any value. Remember, assigning the value like this can be done. This is correct. So, the next one is select the invalid value assignment. Now, when you write the false, first letter should be capital. That is correct. This way also you can assign the value 2.2 multiplied by 10 to the power 2. This is also correct. Capital D or simple is correct. But this is not correct. Here, first one is single quotation. The second one is a double quotation. That is wrong, which is not allowed. In this one, evaluate the expression. First, you have to do the brackets. Then first you have to divide the 20 divided by 7. We know 20 divided by 7 remainder. How much? When the 20 divided by 7, that is 14, remainder is 6. Then you get the 6 here. Then the 6 divided by 5, integer division. For the 6, how many 5s are there? 1. So the answer is 1. Because 20 divided by 7, the remainder, when the 20 divided by 7, remainder is 6. 6 divided by 5, integer part is how much? For the 6, how many 5s are there? 1. So the answer is 1. Is it clear? Are you okay? If you have doubts, you can ask. It doesn't matter. Anytime you can just interrupt me and ask the question. Okay, the next one. Here, first one is 2 to the power 3. 2 to the power 3, we know how much? 2 to the power 3 is 8. 2 to the power 3 is 8. 8 or 7. So 2 to the power 3 is 8. Then this is what operation? O operation. O operation 7. Then the 8 and 7. 8 means how much? 8 means 1, 0, 0, 0. 7 means how much? 1, 1, 1. To equalize, you have to have another 0 here. Then you have to take the operations. Take the operation between these two. That is to take the operation between 1 or 0. 1 or 0 means 1. 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 Then you get 1, 1, 1, 1, which is how much? 15. So the answer is 15. Decimal. That is the answer. Is it clear? Okay, then this one, here what we do, first we have to divide the 20 by 9. 20 divided by 9. What is the remainder? Sorry, 25 divided by 9. When the 25 divided by 9, the remainder is how much? 9 into 2 is 18, 7. 7. Then you get 7 exclusive O. 7 exclusive O, 9. So then we need to know 7. 7 means how much? 1, 1, 1. 9 means how much? 1, 0, 0, 1. Then you have to have the equal number of bits. So you have to put a 0 here. Now we have to take the exclusive operation between these two numbers. So take the exclusive operation between these two. Then you need to know the truth table. Truth table for the exclusive O. What is the truth table for exclusive O? So when it is 0 and 0, remember answer is 0. And 0 and 1, answer is 1. 1 and 0, answer is 1. 1 and 1, answer is 1. This truth table you should know for the exclusive O. Then 1 and 1 means 0. Here 1 and 1 means 0. 1 and 0 means 1. 1 and 0 means 1. 1 and 0 means 1. Then that is equal to how much? 14. 14, this one. Yeah, I will send it. Is it clear, the calculation?
Yes, sir.
Now this one is 10. 10 should be shifted. 10 means 1010. Should be shifted to which side? This side. How many bits? 2 bits. That means 2 bits should be erased. When the 2 bits are erased, 1010 means 2. 10 means 2. So the answer is 2. Then the next one, here remember we need to do which operation first? We have to do the addition first. Then you get 3 plus 5, 8. 8 and 7. Then 8 means 1, 0, 0, 0. 7, 1, 1, 1. You have to make it equal number of bits. For that one, you have to put a 0 here again. Then you have to take the AND operation. This is AND operation. AND means multiplication. 1 into 0 is 0. Sorry, 0 into 1 is 0. 0 into 1 is 0. 0 into 1 is 0. So the answer is 0. This one. Then the here, which of the following is invalid? Now, when you write the true, remember you can't write all the letters together capital true, capital T. First one only should be the T. But if you have the quotation, that's okay. If you have the quotation, that's okay. Without having the quotation, you can't write like this. That is wrong. Because when you have put the quotation, it's a string. String you can write whatever you like. Then which of the following is invalid? Assembly is a second generation language, yes. Python is a high level language, yes. Assembly is a low level language, yes. Compiler translate machine language to high level, no. It translates high level to machine code. Assembler translate assembly code to machine code. It is correct. Answer is this one is wrong. So those are the answers. Is that clear? Are you okay?
Yes, sir.
Now, I want to discuss some past papers. Now, we just discuss only one past paper question and then we'll stop. Just go to, yeah, this one. 2018. Can you quickly complete this and then we stop after that? What is the answer in this question? This is what I told you. So you can see multiple operators are there. Can you quickly find the answer? So how do you do it? Okay, I just explained the answer. Now here, first we have to complete the bracket. We know brackets is high priority. This is how much? 5 to the power 2. 5 to the power 2 means how much? 25. 25. And then 25 divided by 3. That is integer division. That means 25 divided by 3, you get 8 points something, which you get the integer value. That is 23. How many? Sorry, 25 divided by 3. That is how much? Integer division is 8. Then you have to take the exclusive operation between 8 with exclusive O with how much? 4. Then the 8 means 1, 0, 0, 0. 4 means, what is the 4? 4 means 1, 0, 0. Then you have to make it 4 bits, you have to put a 0 here. And then you have to take the exclusive O operation between these two numbers. Now you need to know the truth table for the exclusive O. Without knowing that, you can't continue. So therefore, you need to remember the exclusive O, the XO truth table, when the two inputs are given A and B. So you need to remember that the inputs can be 0 and 0. Then the answer is 0. Input can be 0 and 1. Then the answer is 1. Then the input can be 1 or 0. Then the answer is 1. Input can be 1 or 1. Then the answer is 0. This is the exclusive OR truth table. This you need to know. Now take the exclusive OR operation between these two numbers. 0 or 0. You can see 0 0 means 0. 0 or 0. Again, 0 0 means 0. 0 or 1. You can see 0 is 1 means 1. 1 or 0. You can see 1 or 0 means 1. Therefore, you get 1 1 0 0. 1 1 0 means decimal how much? Decimal 12. So answer is this one. Is that clear?